Welcome to session 3 of our virtual Serve Your City group. Like last session, we're going to do the bulk of our conversation in our Facebook group and through a Zoom chat, but this is some basic information to get us started and to get you thinking about cracking the code of our community. That's what we're going to be focused on this week. In order to serve our community, we first must know the community and understand the different needs of the people who live there. We crack the code of our community by having intentional and sometimes spontaneous conversations and listening very carefully. In most cases, there's already people in our church, maybe even in our group, and definitely in our community who already know a piece of the code. They just haven't told us yet because we haven't asked. Hebrews 10:24 and 25 says this, "And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and do good works, not neglecting to meet together as if the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near." So I'm going to take you through a couple steps that we'll talk about more in depth in our Zoom chat and in the Facebook group. But the first step of cracking the code in our community is to know the people. We need to identify and engage the people within our church and within our community who serve or are connected to local ministries or agencies that are already serving the community. Just like we talked in the last session, God equipped us all to do different things, but He also put us where we are for a reason. We don't need to reinvent the wheel in any way. We just need to work together. And the more of us that work together to crack the code of our community, the less people fall through the cracks and the more light we shine into the darkness. The second part of cracking the code, first is knowing our people. The second is know your community. Discover the needs of your community. So I want you to think for a moment, and we might share this later, but it's just for you to think. How long have you lived in the community that you live in now? Now, because we are all part of Cornerstone, I'm going to say Duncannon and the surrounding areas in Perry County. How long have you lived there? Has it been 5 years, 10 years, your whole life? Maybe you're new to the area and you've only been here a few months and you really haven't had a chance to get out much because of everything going on. We need to discover the needs of our community. So maybe this is just looking around at our experiences and what things have changed for the time that we've lived here and what has stayed the same. Maybe we should look at demographic data, talk to local officials, law enforcement, first responders, ministries, agencies. All of these people can help us gain perspective of the true felt needs in the community. And it can also help us notice patterns of what needs we might be missing or overlooking. Philippians 2:4 reminds us to not look at our own interest, but we should all look to the interest of others. As we talked in the first session, everything about serving should point back to God. And as we crack the code, we should never be afraid to work with others, talk to others, and find out what others are doing so we can best serve our community. The next piece is to know our resources. Leverage the resources that are already available in the community. We never want to waste resources by recreating something that God has already provided. We want to be good stewards by utilizing the resources that are there. And if we do need to create something new, working alongside of those programs so that we can have a bigger reach. There's a story in Matthew 25 about a couple men who received some money from their servants and what they did with that, the return they got on that. And the man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. He doubled his money, basically. "Master," he said, "you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." When God gives us resources, and when He globally gives our community resources, we need to be good stewards of those resources and make sure that we're working together and not duplicating any efforts. The last part of cracking the code is this: keep praying and slow down. Dino Rizzo says this in the Serve Your City book. During our analysis of our communities, we stay connected to the heart of God through prayer. And as we pray, we watch and listen. When we watch the local news and see a family huddling in the street under a blanket as their mobile home goes up in flames, we don't just turn the channel and forget about those people. We make a call, or maybe several calls if that's what it takes, and ask where these people are staying for the night, what school supplies their kids need, and what they need to make it to the next day, week, or month before they find a new place to live. We certainly can't fix every problem we see on television, but we can ask God to lead us to care for at least a few individuals and families. Now, here's what this is not. This is not tagging the church every time someone asks for help on Facebook. That happens sometimes. There's a lot of needs in our community. There's a lot of things that happen. But what this is praying for God to lead you how to help. Maybe you can't pay for a hotel room for a family for a few nights, but maybe you can donate some clothes or a gift card or some school supplies for their children if they lost something in a fire. In extreme cases, you can, of course, call the church and we can try to organize something. But like this passage said, we can't fix everything that we see. Even Cornerstone can't fix everything that we see. We need to be good stewards of our resources and utilize the other resources that are out there. But there is a lot as a body that we can get done when we take it upon ourselves to serve our city. We need to trust Jesus to give us his eyes to see and his heart to care for the people in need. So when you hear those things, when you see those things, this is maybe the most important part of cracking the code. And it's to keep praying, keep talking to God, and slow down and take a breath. A lot of times as humans, we react. We want to jump in and help. We want to save the day sometimes. But we can't do that. We'll burn out very quickly if we do that. We'll run out of resources very quickly if we do that. So we need to slow down and stay in contact with God about what he wants us to do. Cracking the code begins with prayer. It continues with prayer, and it ends with prayer. In Serve Your City, Dina Rizzo also says this: "Recently I realized I was getting ahead of God, so I prayed, 'Lord, help me slow down and not move so fast.' I had become so busy that I was losing my sensitivity to God and awareness of the needs of people. Throughout my day, I have opportunities to be kind to people who need the touch of God's love. If I'm preoccupied with all the good things I'm doing for God, I won't see those precious moments when a smile, an affirming word, or a simple act of kindness means so much." If there's one thing that God has taught me personally through the COVID-19 pandemic, it's this. It's that I needed to slow down and stay connected with God and look for those little serving opportunities instead of the big opportunities. See, overseeing all of the outreach at Cornerstone, sometimes I get caught up in the moment. I see all of the meals are going out, and that's awesome. We're sending out all of these meals to people, and we're sending out pizzas to nurses, and we're buying subs for first responders, and we're sending snack kits to the EMS and the police, and we're doing all of these great things. But sometimes I forget about my neighbors. I forget about the person sitting across the kitchen table from me. And I forget that sometimes when I'm looking at the big picture, I miss those small opportunities where a smile or a simple word of kindness or affirmation can go so far in shining a light. Guys, this situation is hard for all of us. This is a new territory that none of us have ever been in before. And the best and biggest thing we can do to serve our community is just being kind and just loving others in the little simple ways. This is why we talked in the first session about going the extra mile. Those extra mile moments start with a smile, an affirmation, some encouragement, whatever it is. They start with the little simple things. And it's great if they grow into bigger and better things, but God uses those simple moments equally as much as he uses those big moments. So we're going to spend some time in the Facebook group and on a Zoom chat, and there'll be information about that chat in the Facebook group talking about our community and trying to crack the code based on this criteria that we just went through. So I look forward to our conversations in the Facebook group and our Zoom chat.